think Linda and I forgot about the crazy socks. You know us, we're wearing professional women.
Well, the 15th is the day anyway, right? Just this.
In the bottom, always in the bottom.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's in the bottom.
Back for you.
Good evening. And this is the regular meeting of the Township Board, Meridian Township of Meridian. We'll call this meeting to order. First, this evening, please rise and join us with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next.
Supervisor Hendrickson.
Here.
Clerk Zenas here. Treasurer Burkhart.
Here.
Trustee Lentz.
Here.
Trustee Sumlin.
Here.
Trustee Trezise.
Here.
Trustee Wilson.
Here.
7 board members present.
Thank you very much. Presentation. So, without objection, Mhm.
Yeah. I want to do that.
Sorry. Sure. I'm not getting any audio at the. Yeah. Yeah, so we definitely have audio at Scott's microphone. Yeah, I can try talking. There's nothing we have to go. It is green, but there's, oh, there it goes. Good. Would it be possible to start from roll call, sir?
To start from roll call,
Yeah,
we can redo roll call.
only that way they'll be on the record.
Yeah.
I mean,
was-
the record will, I'm here, I can document it myself for minutes.
No, he's testing
She
the
wants for the
mics.
mics.
He's testing the mics.
Okay.
No, to make sure they all work.
Can we start at the beginning of
Okay.
the presentation as the new request?
I'm sorry?
We'll restart the presentation.
Okay, the screens are all off still. See green lights in here, everyone, that's a good sign.
Green lights before.
Yeah. Okay.
Looks good. Sorry for the disruption. You're ready to go anytime, Dave.
Okay. We'll bring ourselves back from recess at 6:09 PM, and we'll once again come back to item 4A, and bring up our friends from Okemos High School Action and the Sock Out Suicide Committee. If you would please start from the beginning, we'd appreciate it.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for having us again. We are really excited to give this presentation on Sock Out Suicide, which is an annual event that we have had for the past 10 years? 9 years?
I think 9 years.
9 years, yes. And it is through Okemos Action, which is a volunteering club at Okemos that is run by our advisor, Ms. Freeman.
Here is both our flyer and an Instagram graphic we use. Sock Out Suicide is something we do annually, and it started 9 years ago when our action advisor lost her husband to suicide. And he was known to wear like colorful, bright socks. So every year on May 15, we ask people wear colorful socks to start conversations about suicide prevention. And a big part of it is our fun run, which is a 5K that happens the day before on Thursday, May 14th. And this kind of brings everyone together to exercise, have fun, and start conversations. And a big part of it is our event partners, which are listed at the bottom of the flyer. Those are Okemos High School Action, of course, Playmakers, who hosts the run, Eli's Project, and Ellie's Place, Meridian Cares, and a big one because of how much they donate is Mertz Meats. So a big part of it is being able to talk with each other and start those conversations about mental health because there is a lot of stigma surrounding it.
Yes. We also do ask that everyone that participates in Sock Out Suicide says this pledge, whether it's to themselves or out loud in a classroom, just saying that if they are struggling, that they reach out for help. And we have this pledge throughout all of our schools, not only at the high school. At our younger schools, like the middle school and elementary school, we have Mental Health Rocks, which is the Sock Out Suicide initiative, but targeted towards a younger demographic. And they pledge to the same things we do, and we make sure that they get to start those conversations early on as well.
So why is this important? There's a huge stigma surrounding mental health and suicide, and we wanted to start those hard conversations early to prevent the stigma and stop people. And prevent the stigma from stopping people from seeking help when they need it. So that way people, as soon as they need help, feel that they are empowered to be able to have those conversations and not feel like they have to keep it to themselves.
And ever since we started Sock Out Suicide, it has actually helped our school so significantly. Everyone has talked about their struggles and helped others reach points of help, so much more so than ever before. So this year, just like Joe was talking about earlier, we do have our run on the 14th, which has occurred last year as well. And these are our first 2 years of doing it, and it has been so fun and exciting. And each year, we're letting people wear a bib for who they run for or what their purpose for running is. You don't have to run, you can walk. Most of us walk, but you can run if you'd like to. And we invite all of you to come if you're interested. We can send you all the information. Everyone here, if you're interested, please come.
As we said earlier, it's a big community initiative. A lot of it comes from community support, and without it, we wouldn't be able to have such a large event. We have a lot of local businesses and organizations that donate for a raffle, which is held on Instagram for anyone who shares a picture in their socks.
Yeah. All they have to do is tag our Instagram, which we follow you guys. And as soon as they tag our Instagram, they're entered into the raffle in which we spin a wheel. And this year, 70 people could win because we have that many donations, which is so cool. And they can get gift cards for $10, $15, a computer, I think, this year. So pretty awesome. What we're asking for you guys is an official proclamation supporting Sock Out Suicide to promote the event on township social media, which I think you guys have already started doing, which is awesome. Add the event onto township calendars if possible, attend or participate in the 5K if you're able to, and show public support for mental health awareness and wear colorful socks on May 15th. So if you guys want to participate, we'd appreciate it. We also want to bring awareness to the fact that because this is a mental health issue, we would prefer if you guys use the term silly or fun socks instead of crazy socks, just because crazy socks have a negative connotation to them, especially regarding mental health. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Board members, any questions? Well, thank you so much for coming in. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I really appreciate what you're doing. I had a friend of mine, her son committed suicide, it was probably about 10 years ago, but she's still not over it, and she's never gonna be over it. It's just a terrible thing, and whatever you're doing to help stop this and get the word out that you can share with your friends, it's the kids and stuff sharing that is really gonna have an impact, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we can knock out one of the requests right now, as a matter of fact, as I do have a proclamation signed here. And I'm going to come over there and read it for the members in attendance as well. So, stay around if you want. So you'll notice that some of us on the board are wearing our silly socks tonight. I have mine, a couple of other board members did as well. But we all did want to also commemorate this with a proclamation in support of hashtag Sock Out Suicide. And so I will read that to us this evening. Whereas Sock Out Suicide is a special event to raise awareness about suicide and break the stigma surrounding it. And whereas Sock Out Suicide began in 2018 after Okemos High School teacher Rachel Freeman Baldwin lost her husband, Ross Baldwin, to suicide. And whereas, in honor of Ross Baldwin, who always matched his socks to his outfit and who loved wearing fun shirts, ties, and brightly colored pants, on May 15th, we wear the most colorful, eye-catching socks to remember Ross, an amazing husband, father, son, brother, friend, and teacher, raising awareness that we stand for hope, support, and the belief that we can make a difference. Whereas, the choice to wear colorful socks on May 15th is a step toward dispelling myths and misconceptions about suicide and honoring the lives of those we've lost. And whereas everyone is encouraged to post a picture on social media of their socks with the hashtag SockOutSuicide. And whereas over time this event has grown into a powerful day of remembrance, education, and hope for many families in our area who have been affected by suicide. And whereas together we can create a wave of support that reaches every corner of the globe, let us use our socks to spark conversations, build connections, and remind everyone that they're not alone. Now therefore be it resolved, the Township Board of the Charter Township of Meridian, Ingham County, Michigan, wishes to publicly recognize, commend, and honor the Okemos High School Sock Out Suicide team for working together to have honest conversations and breaking down the stigma surrounding mental health. The Township Board of the Charter Township of Meridian, Ingham County, Michigan hereby presents this proclamation to the Okemos High School Sock Out Suicide Team, Ms. Freeman Baldwin, Joe Chiswick, Dylan Gasser, Faith Crandall, Freya Knockin, Ishika Mann, and Autumn Jabara. And on a personal note, I have a member of my extended family that I lost to suicide many years ago. And I can't say for certain that they would be here today if these kind of events and these kind of conversations had been happening at that time, but it certainly couldn't have hurt. And so I thank you so much for the work that you're doing and for putting on this event and many more like it. And they really do make a big impact. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Next on our agenda is item 4B, the Polar Dash and Splash donation. And with us this evening, we have our Parks and Recreation Director, Courtney Wazinski, and others.
And others. Good evening,
And
board
so-
members. And Manager Dempsey. Yeah, we're very excited to, on behalf of Parks and Rec, as well as the Township Board, to donate $981.81 to Meridian Cares as a result of the funds collected from the 2026 Polar Dash and Splash. For those who don't know, I think most everybody does, but Meridian Cares helps direct households in crisis to available resources when those resources or services are unavailable. They utilize Meridian Care funds to provide direct assistance, which can include, and I didn't know this, including ambulance waiver program, bill payment assistance, food and meal support, holiday food assistance, micro food pantries, rent, utility resources, and other essential services. So Meridian Township Parks and Recreation vision is creating community through people, parks, and programs. With foresight of our supervisor, thank you Supervisor Hendrickson, and the efforts of Alex Zagrzuski, who's our Parks and Recreation Specialist, we're proud to have raised these funds in support of the community. Alex, any comments?
Yeah, just like to share for anybody that was able to come on out. First, thank you. Our Parks Department was very excited to be approached about the partnership with Meridian Cares and getting to speak with some of the participants after a several-year hiatus, bringing the event back for the first time. A lot of the runners there were there the last time we held the event. They were very excited this event is back. They enjoyed the added feature of the polar plunge. So we are excited that the vibe of the event seemed to be more of a positive outlook. They were thrilled that their donations were going to a good cause, and we're hoping that this grows in the future. So I expect more people to jump next year. So, and the water was a nice warm 35 degrees that day. So.
Wasn't it frozen in the morning?
was.
It was frozen in the morning.
Oh, boy.
Thanks to the fire department for helping us with that. Yeah, it was a really fun event, and I thank Alex for making that happen. It's a lot of coordination, as you can imagine. But it's our honor to present to Meridian Cares and our lovely Katie Love to help continue to provide resources to our community for healthy and support. So I wanted a big check, and I know Katie was expecting a big check, but I didn't know how to make that happen. So, so we have a little, just a little bit of a
I
certain.
think you've got to ask Manager Deal if you want the big check. She's got that.
She's on my list to talk to if we're going to continue this, right? And or more. But this is Meridian Township Parks and Recreation Funding Donation Certificate, proudly presented to Meridian Cares in recognition of a donation in the amount of $981.81 collected at the 2026 Polar Dash and Splash. So,
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
On behalf of.
Katie, thank you for all your work you do in the
thank you.
community, and it's amazing what you make happen. And
This will make a big difference.
thank you.
Thank you very
board.
much. Next on our agenda is item 5, citizens address agenda items and non-agenda items. There are several opportunities for public comment at tonight's meeting. Members of the public who wish to address any item on our agenda or any item not on our agenda may do so at the beginning of the meeting as well as near the end of the meeting. Those who wish to address the board must complete a green card, which are located on the table near the door, and present the card to the board or a member of the township staff. When it's your turn, I'll call you up to the speaker. I'll call the next speaker up to the podium to speak to the topics indicated. While it's not required, it is helpful for the sake of our meeting minutes if you provide your name and address for the record at the beginning of your remarks. Citizens are required to limit comments to 3 minutes. An automated system will keep track of the time, and an indicator light and beep will alert you when your time has expired. The members of the board value comment and input from our public. The meeting format and rules, however, do restrict board members from engaging in conversation with commenters or answering questions directly. Questions and concerns may be addressed by board members at a later time or may be referred to a member of the township staff to follow up on. Please address all comments to the board or the board's chair, not to individual board members or to others in the audience. With that said, we do have several green cards this evening. First up is Alex McCrae, and then Everett Root is on deck.
I'm Alex McCrae, 2473 Haslett Road, East Lansing. And I'm concerned that you're putting a bike trail on the south side of Haslett Road. And the front of my yard near where the bike trail would be has a 100-year-old tree on it. I'm on a little bit of a hill. There's a place where it's going to be installed has a big main gas main. One of the water loops is there. And I talked to your engineer, or one of your engineers, and I'm an engineer and used to work for the state regulating things. And he said that due to the grant that you got, he has to put a 10-foot sidewalk in, which is a 10-foot sidewalk, like from here to the wall. My driveway is a 10-foot sidewalk. So that's gonna, when you add in a 5-foot layback, a 10-foot sidewalk, and then I'm on the hill, you're gonna have to dig out a whole lot of earth and stuff. You're gonna rip into the tree. So the tree, if you put the 10-foot in, you're gonna kill the tree. Your requirement, not the grants, is 7 foot. And the sidewalk in front of your house is 5 foot. So there will have to be a big wall put in there. It'll tear out gardens in the front of my house. You're gonna need an easement. That's gonna cost you money due to the loss of the value of my property with the 100-foot tree gone. And if we leave the tree, we make some adjustments, I want a statement that you'll take responsibility if we try to keep the tree. They do a minor work and they only cut out a third of the roots or something. I don't want to have the responsibility for the tree that you're going to kill if you put the sidewalk in. And I'd also like a little fence on the top of the wall if you're putting a wall up, because if somebody runs off the yard or whatever, they're going to drop 4 or 5, 6 feet down into your new sidewalk. Your engineer said that the grant requires a 10-foot sidewalk. Well, that's a brownie point issue trying to get the grant, so you can beat out Grand Ledge or Jackson, Michigan for the grant. I, as a former employee at the state, I talked to MDOT, and there is no requirement for that. So what I'm suggesting is, overall, why the hell are you putting a bikeway on my side of the road when there's one on the other side already that's in good use and it's not overloaded? And number two, so you put one on that side, you put one on my side, and then in the next 2 years, everybody knows you're going to make a 3-lane road with the road commission.
Sir, I'm sorry, your time has expired. I think that this likely is a conversation that we could have you continue with our deputy township manager. and can talk you through some of the particulars of that. I don't believe we've received the grant that you're describing as of yet. So there may yet be time to have those conversations with our deputy township manager. I'm sorry, it can't be a conversation, but I can refer you to that.
Yeah, well, I can give you an answer if you still want it.
An answer
And
to
if
what?
it's, just it'll take a second here. What you do is put the walkway, bikeway right against the curb on the road and not have a 5-foot layback, and it's to your advantage. I'm not gonna explain that. And if you put a 5-footer in there, you're only gonna go in about 7 feet. You won't have a big wall, and you may save the tree.
Okay, thank you very much.
And the other thing is, take that portion of my property by the tree out of the grant.
Okay, thank you, sir. Everett Root, and then Jared Junkett here is on deck.
Hello, my name is Everett Root. I'm a resident of 928 River Knoll in Hazlet. And I'm here this evening to make you aware of and solicit your support for legislative initiative soon to be introduced by Senator Sam Singh to the Michigan Senate. The proposed legislation will provide funding for statewide aerial photography and other remotely sensed data. To introduce myself, I'm a resident of Hazlet for almost 60 years, recent retiree from the state of Michigan with over 30 years as a geographic information systems professional. I managed the state's aerial photography program from its inception in 2009 until I retired in 2024. I continue to serve as a member of the state of Michigan's GS advisory group as an at-large member representing the statewide GS community. I continue to serve, I'm also a member of the remote sensing working group, which is under the umbrella of that advisory group. So consistent high-quality aerial imagery is critical for a wide range of applications across Michigan, from local government planning and emergency response to infrastructure management and economic development. From parcels to roads and rivers to political boundaries, data that you see spatially represented on a map is very likely created or revised using an air photo. The proposed legislation increases the fee for recording documents with the Register of Deeds from $30 to $34 and aims to create an annual legislative apportionment in the amount of $4 per recorded document through an amendment to the revised Judicature Act of 1961 PA 236. The proposed legislation would establish aerial imagery made publicly available, higher resolution imagery, increased frequency of flights from 5 years to 3 years, funded by the citizens of Michigan, managed by an existing statewide program, the Michigan Statewide Authoritative Imagery and LiDAR, also known as MISAL. Please note the key word here is authoritative. Users of the imagery know exactly when, where, and how it was created, and it does stand up in court. Funding could also provide the potential for the acquisition of additional remote sense data such as LiDAR for topographic and 3D mapping, and commercially available satellite imagery products in the visible, multispectral, and hyperspectral bands that can provide timely images for change detection and incident management. I will send via email additional supporting documentation to the board in the coming days. Supporters of the amendment so far include Michigan State University Extension, Michigan Assessors Association, the Michigan Association of Equalization Directors, Michigan Geological Survey, the West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Commission, Tri-County Regional Planning, and the Michigan GS Professional Association. I respectfully request that the Meridian Township Board consider adding their support to the legislation. Meridian Township was an active participant in 4 recent aerial photography flights, 2010, which was a 6-inch resolution flight, then 2015, 2020, and 2025, which were all 3-inch flights. Oh, wow. I did this much quicker at home, sorry. Can I, just 30 seconds?
Please.
Total cost to the township for the 4 flights was approximately $17,750. The township should be congratulated for the foresight to participate and acquire high-resolution imagery for the benefit of staff in their daily work, as well as the record of change to the landscape that it provides. And as a resident and a taxpayer, I greatly appreciate and encourage it. However, the passing of this resolution would provide the opportunity for the township to have 3-inch resolution every 3 years at no cost. So I'm going to skip through my next part. Just say, if you have any questions of me, I'd be happy to meet with any one of you or any staff at any time. 'cause I'm retired. I wrote on my sheet, I'm available anytime. And thank you for your time and attention, and thank you for your service to the township.
Thank you very much. Jared Junk here, and then Brandy Bauer is on deck.
Hello, my name is Jared Jankier. I live on 2423 Solar Boulevard. And I'm addressing the resolution to increase the zoning permissiveness for the chickens. And I think the main argument is that there's already some existing regulations that it has to be a certain distance away from occupied buildings already, unless you have the permission of the other occupied building. So as long as we're able to meet those requirements, I don't see why the zoning alone should prevent us from having the chicken coops. So I'll keep mine short and sweet. I don't think there's too much to it other than chickens are kind of a unique pet, and every once in a while the egg prices get really high, so just have there. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Brandy Bauer, and then Josh Nahum is on deck. Anyone else wishing to make a comment to the board, please make sure you fill out a green card at this time.
I'm hoping to comment at the end of the meeting.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brandy Bauer. I live on Orlando and I run a local accounting and consulting firm here in town. I'm here because the last 3 years, the township has let the house next door to me operate as an illegal, uncertified rental, and my family is starting to pay for the price for that. The property I'm referring today is 1276 Orlando Drive, and this isn't an isolated incident. The landlord, Gene Turnwald, operating under Hamilton Road Limited, is a licensed local attorney specializing in real estate and landlord-tenant law. He manages over 50 properties in mid-Michigan and owns several right on my street in Orlando. This property right next to me has had an expired rental certificate and has not passed a safety inspection since 2022, yet has never gone vacant or without a paying rental tenant. This isn't a clerical oversight, it's a business model based on dodging the rules the rest of us have to follow. This isn't just about paperwork either, because this rental is unmanaged and it's become a public documented nuisance. The occupants have known to be aggressive since 2024, to the point where my daughter, my 10-year-old daughter, and the surrounding neighbors no longer feel safe to go outside and enjoy Orlando Park. This week, I filed 3 separate personal protection orders and have to go to a hearing to protect my daughter from the harassment on our own property. I did attempt to contact Gene Turnwald, or his firm, for over 2 years now. He is aware of the tenant and the building maintenance issued and filed for eviction in 24. Nothing ever happened with that until they were aggressive with his own wife at the park. So the township is trying to say the tenant behavior is a private civil matter, and the laws actually say otherwise. Under Section 301.2 of the International Property Maintenance Code, which this township follows, the owner is responsible for the premises. And by choosing to bypass the registration and safety process, Turnwald has intentionally dismantled the only system the township has to ensure professional management. The township is giving a silent message to local landlords that their regulations don't matter and are optional and can be ignored. My 10-year-old no longer feels safe going in the yard or going outside, and while this landlord keeps collecting rent illegally. They've offloaded the social cost in bad management onto the local police and the neighbors. I spoke with Director Tim Schmidt this week, and he stated it is not in the practice to red tag properties like this, but to instead allow and encourage Turnwald to become compliant and potentially only face fines. Today, I'm here to ask the board, is that standard policy, or is it a professional courtesy being extended specifically to a local attorney? The law is clear, and you revoke the rental certificate this week, which is a start, but revocation doesn't actually get the nuisance or the safety issue out, or the excused 3 years of noncompliance. So today I'm demanding the township stop waiting for him to voluntarily comply. He's ignored you since 2022. Get an administrative warrant, placard this house to vacate the illegal tenants, and not allow Gene Turnwald the right to have any paying tenants until this and the rest of his properties become compliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board at this time? Seeing none, public comment is closed at 6:36 p.m. Next on our agenda is item 6, the Township Manager Report. Manager Dempsey.
Yes, thank you, Supervisor Hendrickson, and good evening, board members. A few items this evening. The first of 3 Township Board listening sessions will be held Tuesday evening May 12th coming up here at 242 Community Center, so not the church, but the center at Bennett Road, 2630 Bennett Road. We encourage all of our residents to attend, of course, and participate in that. Similar to past listening sessions, we'll have brief updates from staff on some key topics, and then we'll have an opportunity, of course, to engage and listen and hear and respond to our residents. The police department has announced a community engagement series that they're starting. The first one will be later this month on Tuesday, May 26th. And the topic will be de-escalation. Chief Grillo is actually going to be presenting on that. If you recall, in the past, the department has held a citizen police academy, which one of the feedback points that we received from attendees was it required a lot of time and investment for people to participate in that. So this is a new approach to allow people to participate and hear about those particular elements of policing that they're interested in. They don't have to attend all of them. You could attend one, you can attend a couple, or you can attend them all. So a little bit more flexibility for our residents. The farmers market is back outdoors at Marketplace on the Green. That started last Saturday and will continue on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then the last thing I want to bring up is, and I'm sure Clerk Demas will have a lot more on the election, but just want to acknowledge her team, both her permanent staff and many of the temporary workers who came in for whether it was election day or many days before that, as well as our public works staff who helped move equipment, and then staff throughout the organization who worked on the receiving board. So a big thanks to all of them for all the extra effort, particularly all the extra hours and days with early voting and time that was spent on that. Certainly from the manager's perspective, we appreciate all the effort in everyone's behalf. So with that, unless there's any questions, that wraps it up for me.
Board members, any questions of Manager Dempsey? Seeing none, we move on. Next is item 7, board member reports of activities and announcements. Any board members with activities and announcements? Clerk Demas.
Yes, actually, I have a public statement regarding the special election. So this was previously posted by me, but I would like to read it out here. So a huge thank you to our election workers for their dedication and hard work in helping administer the May 5th, 2026 special election in Meridian Township. Accuracy takes time, and recognizing the efforts behind the scenes is incredibly important. This special election, we offered 3 days of early voting. We are incredibly grateful to all of our election workers at our polling locations and early voting sites. I also want to thank our absent voter counting board and receiving board for their commitment and attention to detail throughout the process. Thank you to our polling locations and our DPW team for the crucial work supporting our election process. We remain committed to continued growth and improvement, and we are grateful to have such an amazing team supporting these efforts every step of the way. And finally, thank you to everyone who made their voices heard by voting. Your participation is what makes our community a prime community. I also want to bring attention to Precinct 2's polling location, Story Point. We are looking for alternative locations. I do want to thank everyone who has brought the limited parking issues to our attention. We have heard concerns regarding this, and we want to ensure our voters are able to exercise their right to vote without a hitch. And also, Denim Day was on April 29th, and this is a global movement to raise awareness and stand in solidarity with survivors. As leaders, I think it's important for us to speak out and support survivors of sexual violence. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw Treasurer Burkhart.
Yes, I was very fortunate to attend the Michigan Municipal Treasurer Association conference last week. It was very informative and very comprehensive. They covered the waterfront. It was very intensive. We had 18 sessions that covered everything from cash handling, budgeting, tax increment financing, to crisis management and leadership. And I forgot my other one, but it gave me an opportunity to network with the treasurers from townships, municipalities, and villages across the state. So I have a cadre of experts I can turn to for help in any one of the issues that come up concerning the treasurer's office. I did realize that there are about 6 public acts that I need to read cover to cover just to start. And so it was very, very helpful. And I do want to also do a shout out to Angela and her elections team. I told her today, I never, ever want to have to do her job. So that's it.
It's not that bad.
Trustee Sunland and then Trustee Lance.
Okay. I attended the Economic Development Corporation meeting today, so I just wanted to fill you in a little bit about it. We had a recommendation to appoint our township manager to our EDC so that he can participate in the conversations and a meaningful interaction. So I'm hoping they communicated that to you.
They did. They did.
Okay, that's a good thing. And so we also talked about the Lansing 5.01 Annual Meridian Township Promotion Contribution. And it's about our partnership started in 2024 and has successfully promoted Meridian Township, focusing on regional conversations around young professional attraction and builds awareness about the best big little region in Michigan. So we renewed this contribution, and it's not a huge contribution. It's like $2,500, but it means a lot. So we will use it. And also we talked about the new business was our Economic Development Corporation visioning session, goals, grants, and economic development strategy. So we're requesting approval from the Economic Development Corporation to fund a portion, like 25% of the cost, for a consultant to cover the cost of a study. And we're visioning goals, grant, and economic development opportunities. So this is what we're going to do, and whoever the consultant is that we're hiring, we've got about 8 locations that we want to focus in on to, be in the economic development. So anyway, that was the meeting today.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Trustee Lance?
Yeah. Thank you, Supervisor. While we did not have an environmental commission meeting last night, I did want to give a congratulations to our chair, Yuman Lee. She was awarded with the 2026 Legacy Award for the Michigan chapter of Wildlife Society for her service and advancement of conservation. I think that, as much as anything, highlights the plethora of knowledge that we benefit from on the board in terms of our commissions. And I know Manager Dempsey is working on a program where we can all get together as commissioners, maybe do some training around local government. The wealth of topics that are covered in these conversations are incredibly impressive. On that note, green grants were awarded, and upon acceptance of those, we will have 6 awardees granted a total of $15,000, one of the great programs that I think the township provides. In addition to Manager Dempsey's note about the Meridian Police Department, I also want to thank them for the comments made on social media around Bike Safety Month. I would recommend anyone in the township who rides a bike, lives near a bike, or has a 10-year-old with a helmet to review those social media posts that the police department put up. Bike safety is incredibly important with our 80+ miles of trails. So as the weather gets warmer, we need to remember individualized safety. So I appreciate that from our police department.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Others? So I was able to attend and speak on behalf of the board at the dedication of the Hazlet Community Church Woodland Shade Garden on Sunday the 26th. This is one of our recipients from several years ago for the Green Grant Program. And so that was a lovely ceremony put on by the Green Team at, not to be confused with the other Green Team, the Hazlet Community Church Green Team. And they have done some great work. And in fact, this is their second green grant that they've applied for and have been awarded. They have a pollinator garden by the road, which also is flourishing nicely. So if you have an opportunity to stop by the Hazlet Community Church, you can see both projects, two different green grants at work, and it's a lovely, lovely place to visit. And then also I want to mention that the board did also hold its annual local governments and schools meeting on April 28th that many of us were in attendance for. And we were able to, it's a great opportunity annually to sit down with the leaders of neighboring communities, our local school districts, and other interested parties to talk about issues of joint concern, issues of possible collaboration. And I know that many of us walked out of that meeting feeling as though we have some concrete next steps for how we can collaborate with our partners and our neighbors. So always a fun meeting to have. It's nice to sort of think about the vision and the big picture for the future, and I think that's an excellent opportunity to do so. So thank you to everyone here who was a part of setting that meeting up, as well as our neighbors and partners from our local jurisdictions around us. Seeing no other reports, we move on to agenda item 8, approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? It's been moved, trustee Wilson.
Move to approve the agenda.
Been moved by trustee Wilson, supported by trustee Lentz. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda. We have a number of items on our consent agenda this evening, including communications with the Township Board, 2 sets of minutes, one from our regular Township Board meeting on April 21st, one from our closed session on April 21st. We have the bills. We have a resolution commemorating AAPI Heritage Month. We have a resolution commemorating Jewish American Heritage Month. We have a designation of code enforcement officials for civil infractions, a drain maintenance funding authorization resolution, several of them there, as well as an agreement for the Celebrate Meridian drone show services. And board members will note that at their places this evening was a manila folder with those closed session minutes, if you'd like to take a moment to review. And when you have done so, I will entertain a motion on the consent agenda. Yes, Treasurer Burkhart.
I'd like to propose a friendly amendment to item 9F, designation of code enforcement officials for civil infractions.
So I think we need to have a motion first, although if you'd like to move it with your amendment, I think that would be in order as well.
Oh, okay.
So if you'd like to move the consent agenda with a proposed amendment?
Okay, yes. How do we do that? I'd like to move item 9F, designation of code enforcement officials for civil infractions with proposed friendly amendment.
Okay, the motion is on agenda item 9F.
I think I want to move approval of the consent agenda, and then we can get into the motion.
Would you defer your motion?
Certainly.
All right. So the consent agenda has been moved by trustee Trezise. Do we have a support? Support. Supported by trustee Wilson. And now, Treasurer Burkhart, your amendment.
Okay. Could you bring up page 50 of the packet, please? Okay. Under item 1, it says, it is therefore resolved as follows. Under item 1, we talk about the Director of Community Planning and Development and his or her successors, the Chief Building Official and his or her successors, and the Township's Property Compliance Officer and his or her successors, and any other employee. They're hereby appointed as code enforcement officers. And my suggestion, my friendly amendment, was after Director of Community Planning, his or her successors, I would include and his or her designees. And the same thing with the Chief Building Official and the Township's Property Compliance Officers. After in each case after successors put and his or her designees. It gives the director, the chief building official, and the property compliance officers the flexibility to appoint somebody to fill their positions in case of sickness, vacation, emergencies, and things like that. And it's language that I've often seen in legislation, state legislation. So I was just going to suggest that. I don't know if that's the proper
Yeah, so to clarify, you're not suggesting replacing successors. It would read Director of Community Planning and Development, his or her successors, and his or her designees.
Correct.
So that would be
It would be an or, wouldn't it?
It would be after each of them, though?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on the amendment? Trustee Trezise, are you willing to accept that as a friendly amendment?
Assuming that is not restricted somehow by state laws to who we can appoint, I would support that amendment. I would ask that the matter be reviewed by council to make sure that we are not extending the authority beyond what we can do.
Well, as it so happens, we have at least 3 of our attorneys here this evening.
They may not have been any of them.
They may not be prepared to talk about this, but perhaps they are. It looks like Attorney Kuschel is the lucky one.
Thank you, trustee and board members. So yes, having the designees would be consistent with state law. It would also be generally consistent with your code of ordinances. The impetus behind this particular resolution was that the code of ordinances identifies certain officials within it as both code enforcement officers and authorized township officials, which are just kind of 2 interlocking definitions. But we didn't have a few individuals already identified, specifically the Director of Community Planning and Development. So having that expanded designee piece is consistent, as I said, and works even within the broader framework of the Code of Ordinances, which does recognize several different officials and individuals who can act as code enforcement officers.
Thank you. Then I concur with the proposed amendment.
Okay. Trustee Wilson?
Can I ask, Matt, how should that language be worded?
The proposed wording is fine.
Is it and designee, or would it be or designee?
And designees. That way it would be joint, really, and or could work. You could also create it as a separate paragraph or a 1A that says the officials identified in the paragraph above are authorized to designate additional code enforcement officers or authorized township officials.
I think the way Treasurer Burkhart presented it is less wordy and more direct.
Yep.
No offense.
None taken.
You're doing it on the fly. I appreciate it. So any discussion? Clerk Demas.
I just had a quick question too, actually. Would there be a difference with changing the language instead of his or her to their, or is this just standard resolution language due to past grammatical, structure?
His or her or their, both work.
Okay. I was just curious about that. We can leave it as is. And then second, in the future, if we're going to add amendments, would you recommend we pull it from the consent agenda?
Generally, I think that's going to be a cleaner process for you, to put it on as a separate agenda item. And then you're able to come back to it with a little more structure. But again, you're properly bringing the changes in front of the board, and as long as, again, the board is aware of what exactly it's adopting, making those amendments to the proposed material, it's fine.
Any other discussion? Trustee Trezise, are you willing to accept the friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the motion before us is on the consent agenda with the enumerated items that I listed previously, with the change to agenda item 9F that was brought by Treasurer Burkhart and agreed to by Trustee Trezise. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, will Clerk Demus please call the roll?
Clerk Demus, yes. Treasurer Burkhart?
Yes.
Trustee Lentz?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Trezise?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Supervisor Hendrickson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. Board members, make sure you turn in your manila folders to the clerk so that we keep track of all of those.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is the board action items. We have item 10A, final adoption of ordinance 2026-01, Ide Capstone, Hannah Boulevard, a conditional rezoning from PO Professional Office and RAA 1 Family Low Density Residential to RD Multiple Family Residential up to 8 dwelling units per acre, subject to a conditional rezoning agreement. And we have the first of many opportunities to hear from Director of Community Planning and Development, Tim Schmidt, tonight.
Thank you very much. So this is the third time the board has had this on their agenda after the Planning Commission had initially reviewed it. Just to reiterate where we're at here, this is the property at the end of Hannah Boulevard, adjacent to the existing, or between the existing Hannah apartment complexes, student apartment complexes, and the Indian Lakes Estate neighborhood to the east. The request is to rezone it from professional office and RA 1 family low density residential to RD multifamily residential up to 8 dwelling units the acre, subject to a conditional rezoning agreement which would limit development on the site in 4 ways. It would require a PUD to be submitted within 2 years, limit the number of units on the site to no more than 270, preserve approximately 38 acres of open space in perpetuity, and provide a 248-foot natural buffer adjacent to the Indian Hills neighborhood, and specific to the neighborhood would preclude any connection to the existing stub street that is located adjacent to this property. Previous discussions of this yielded no major concerns, and at this time, staff has published the ordinance as required by law and at the direction of the board, and would recommend approval at this time with the motion that's included in your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Board members, any questions this evening? Trustee Wilson.
I'm ready to move the adoption if everyone is in compliance or in agreement.
Comply.
Move to adopt the resolution approving ordinance 2026-01, an ordinance to rezone 2 vacant parcels on Hannah Boulevard. Parcels IDs 33-02-02-20-401-095 and 33.
Sorry, 005.
I'm sorry.
It was 005.
Let me say that again. Parcel IDs 33-02-02-20-405-005.
Sorry, 401.
It's a long one. It's a long one. Thank you. Go.
I'll take over.
Thank you.
Trustee Trezise.
Motion to adopt the resolution approving ordinance 2026-01, an ordinance to rezone 2 vacant parcels on Hannah Boulevard, parcel ID numbers 33-02-02-20-401-005 and number 33-02-02-20-327-006 from PO Professional Office and RAA 1 Family Low Density Residential to RD Multiple Family Residential up to 8 dwelling units per acre, subject to a conditional rezoning agreement.
Support.
It's been moved by Trustee Trezise, supported by Trustee Wilson. Discussion on the motion. Trustee Trezise.
And the only we've discussed this, and I support the motion, obviously, but I'm wondering if the motion, I believe one of the properties is not on Hannah Boulevard.
So,
I'm just thinking for clarification, and maybe in the resolution.
get to the right spot.
They're certainly described in great detail, legally
Yes.
described.
Oh, it does, that's right, the road does curve there technically. I think certainly we have the parcel ID numbers, and so that's what really matters
Okay.
in the end.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
That's interesting.
Well, I'll simply add that, this is, I think, a very interesting project. This is, of course, just the rezoning portion of it. But I want to commend and applaud the applicants for having the early, open, and honest conversations with the residents in the nearby neighborhood. We have seen proposals come for these parcels in the past that have not taken that proactive approach to meet with them and have those early conversations and get the buy-in from the neighbors. And I think the fact that this is a relatively quick and straightforward process indicates the work that you have all done to obtain that buy-in. From our perspective, I'm excited that we are bringing additional housing stock to Meridian Township. We sorely need it. The Lansing Economic Area Partnership put out data that shows that Meridian Township is currently at a 3% housing availability rate, and a healthy environment is more like 5%. And so the more housing stock that we can get to help to do that meets all of our goals. We've also indicated as a board a goal to bring more affordable housing. And while this project doesn't officially do that on its own, the laws of supply and demand show us that the more housing that's there, the more the supply, the lower the cost overall. And that certainly is, I think, something that we we endeavor to see here as we go forward. So I thank the applicants for bringing this proposal to us, and we look forward to the next steps. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will Clerk Demus please call the roll?
Treasurer Burkhardt?
Yes.
Trustee Lentz?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Trezise?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Clerk Demus, yes. Supervisor Hendrickson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is item 10B, ordinance 2026-02, Tech Chandani Enterprises, 2936 Jolly Road rezoning from C1 commercial to RB 1 family high density residential. This is for adoption this evening, and we have Director Schmidt here again.
Thank you very much. This is also an item that the board has seen for the third time now. The property at 2936 Jolly Road is currently zoned commercial. It's used as a single-family residential home, and the owner of the property is looking to sell it and retire. And so that is the request in front of you, is to bring the zoning in compliance with the use of the land. The Planning Commission raised no major concerns, nor did the board, and we have published this notice as directed by the board in state law, and so we would recommend approval at this time. I will add, we have begun to reach out to the neighboring properties at the board's direction. We do have some code-related issues with one of the properties, and so we are unlikely to bring those forward in the near future until we're able to address some other underlying problems there.
Understood. Thank you. Board members, any discussion or a motion to be had at this time? Trustee Trezise.
As Director Schmidt indicated, we have discussed this on a couple of occasions. It is unrealistic to expect this piece of property in its current status, with or without the house on it, to be developed commercially. The lot is too small, there's too much wetland, there's no available area for parking or anything for a commercial development, so I think this is a logical move to accept the appropriateness of what it's being used for and what it has been used for many years. I don't know when the commercial zoning was made, but I'm sure it was made after the house was there. So I would move to adopt the resolution approving ordinance 2026-02, an ordinance to rezone 2936 Jolly Road, parcel ID number 33-02-02-32-32-300 2022-013 from C1 commercial to RP 1 family high density residential.
It's been moved by trustee Trezise. Do we have a second? Treasurer Burkhardt.
I second it.
Seconded by Treasurer Burkhardt. Any further discussion? Would you like to? Okay. So, yeah, this is obviously something we've seen a couple of times. I concur with trustee Trezise's comments on the lack of ability to develop this as a commercial parcel. And certainly what we heard from the resident is that, who was trying to sell the home, that the commercial zoning has become problematic in that process. And this feels like an easy choice to make, to allow them to sell their home and allow it for its use that is currently already being used for. So I'll be supportive of this. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will Clerk Davis please call the roll?
Trustee Lentz?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Trezise?
Yes.
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Clerk Demas, yes. Treasurer Burkhardt?
Yes.
Supervisor Hendrickson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. All right, next up is item 10C, ordinance 2026-03, data center moratorium introduction. Director Schmidt.
Thank you very much. At the board's request, the township attorneys have drafted the attached ordinance, which would implement a 6-month moratorium on data center development in the township. It can be extended based on that, the way they've written it, but this would be the first step, and then we will work with the township attorneys to develop that ordinance. Given that it is a resolution, it is a 2-step process. You do need to introduce it at this meeting. We'll publish it, and then it will be adopted at the next meeting. Township Attorney Kushel is here this evening to answer any questions, if you might have any on this matter.
Okay. Thank you very much. Board members, any discussion? I think it's wise to restate something that Director Schmidt brought up when this was brought before us the first time, which is that there has been no discussion of any kind with anyone about a data center proposal here in Meridian Township. To the best of my knowledge, no one's been approached, no one's been whispered, discussed, talked to, or yelled at about a data center. This is merely our recognition that this is an emerging issue for communities around us and across the state, and an acknowledgement that these kind of proposals are something that need to be very carefully handled if and when they ever come. It's unlikely that they ever will in Meridian Township. And the reason for that is that there are only so many industrial parcels here where they would be a suitable fit. And all of those, or many of those, as we heard at our last meeting, are already have occupants. And some of them that remain also would likely not be suitable for reasons far beyond just simply the zoning. However, it does behoove us, I think, and this is why we're talking about this, to ensure that should anything happen in the future, we have set up a system of guardrails to protect our residents and protect our community against some of the gravest ills of these developments. And so that's why we're talking about this today. That's why we're pushing the pause button with the moratorium. And we hope and we expect that in the 6 months of time that we're giving our attorneys and staff, that they'll come back with a suitable set of guardrails to ensure that we are able to carefully consider and protect our residents in the future. And so that's why we're taking this up. And we look forward to continuing those conversations in the weeks and months to come. Trustee Wilson.
Move to adopt the resolution approving for introduction text amendment 2026-03 to implement a 6-month moratorium on data center developments while regulations are developed.
It's been moved by Trustee Wilson.
Support.
Supported by Clerk Demas. I've got a Roberts Rules question here, I suppose. It's listed as a voice vote. Is that only because it's an introduction as opposed to an actual adoption? It is an ordinance that we're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know if we,
I
think so, though. I think we're okay with that. Yeah.
Okay. Clerk Demas, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Sunland.
Yes.
Trustee Trezise.
Yes.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Clerk Demas, yes. Treasurer Burkhart.
Yes.
Trustee Lentz.
Yes.
Supervisor Hendrickson.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll see you back in 2 weeks on that. Next up is agenda item 10D, ordinance 2026-04, battery energy storage systems moratorium for introduction. Director Schmidt is here once again.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. This is essentially the same request as the previous one. At the board's request, we have brought forward a moratorium for battery energy storage systems. We have split them up just because there is potential that the regulations will be different and one ordinance may end up being adopted quicker in the long run than the other. So rather than hold up the entire process and extend a moratorium unnecessarily for one part or the other, we split them into two. So that's why you're seeing two different things here. Be happy to answer any questions, but should the board adopt this, we will publish it and bring it back for adoption at the next meeting.
Thank you very much. Trustee Trezise.
Move to adopt the resolution approving for introduction text amendment number 2026-04 to implement a 6-month moratorium on battery energy storage system developments while regulations are developed.
It's been moved by Trustee Trezise. Do we have a second? Seconded by Treasurer Burkhart.
Yes.
Any discussion on the question? I think this falls into the same category. All of the caveats that I mentioned for the previous one apply here as well. No projects have been introduced, discussed, or brought to us in any way, shape, or form. But this is, again, a cautionary measure. And so, yes, Trustee Trezise.
The other thing I would say, these are new developments, and I guess the question we have is we don't know what we don't know. And the ramifications and implications for development of these types of operations, even if it's unlikely to happen, we should have that understanding in our ordinance prior to being presented with a proposal, which would, under what I recently read, probably fall with industrial and be a matter of right unless we have regulations restricting.
Agreed. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will Clerk Demas please call the roll?
Trustee Trezise.
Yes.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Clerk Demas, yes. Treasurer Burkhart.
Yes.
Trustee Lentz.
Yes.
Trustee Sunland.
Yes.
Supervisor Hendrickson.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Director Schmidt. We'll see you back again soon. Next on our agenda is item 10E, the Legal Services Agreement. Manager Dempsey.
Yes. Good evening again. So as all of you are well aware, we went through an extensive request for proposals process. We received 4 proposals from different law firms who were interested in becoming the township's attorney of record. Out of those, as you know, in our last meeting, we essentially put forward the recommendation after review that maybe 2 firms be considered, but given the cost structure, given the familiarity of Fahey Schultz with the township, having been our attorneys for almost 9 years now, it made sense to move forward with them as our attorneys going forward. So before you tonight is a recommendation then to approve the renewal engagement letter with Fahey Schultz for legal services through June 30th, 2029. So this would be another 3-year period. Contract terms are essentially similar except for those rate adjustments that we discussed at the last meeting that will occur in years 2 and 3. So with that, happy to answer any questions that the board might have. And of course, as we know, both Attorney Patterson and Attorney Mills are here in the audience this evening, and I'm sure would be happy to answer any questions from their side of the ledger as well.
Great. Thank you. Board members, any questions or discussion? We also do have a motion, should anyone wish to make it. Trustee Wilson.
I'm happy
Trustee
to
Lentz.
comment that I appreciate Trustee Trezise being a part of this process, using his legal background and the great work that we've received from Fahey Schultz as legal counsel to this point. So I'm happy to make that motion. I move to approve the renewal engagement letter with Fahey Schultz, Bertzick Roads PLC for legal services through June 30th, 2029.
Support.
It's been moved by trustee Lentz, supported by trustee Wilson. Any further discussion? Yeah, I'll add my thanks to trustee Trezise and manager Dempsey for working through the RFP results. And also our partners at Fahey Schultz for the very hard work that they have done in my 4 years on the board. I have been very impressed always with the high level of quality that we receive from our law firm, and I am always thankful with the candor and the accessibility that we have with our attorneys. They have the unfortunate quality of being about 250 yards down the street from my house. Not that I have availed myself of stopping by the office on my evening walks, but I know that I could, and that also makes me feel comfortable as well. And it is nice to have a law firm who is local here in the township as well. And so I thank them for the 9 years that you have given us previously, engaged with us previously, and I look forward to the next 3. So I'll be supporting this motion. Trustee Trezise.
I wanted to add that this recommendation doesn't come from Mr. Dempsey and myself alone. Our staff, our directors all reviewed and had input as to their satisfaction with this firm and their support for them. So it's been a good fit, and there's no reason it can't continue to be.
Terrific. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, Clerk Demas, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Clerk Demas, yes. Treasurer Burkhart?
Yes.
Trustee Lentz?
Yes.
Trustee Sunland?
Yes.
Trustee Trezise?
Yes.
Supervisor Hendrickson?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. All righty. Next item on our agenda this evening is item 11A, parking ordinance standards, third update. Mr. Schmidt is back again.
So as promised, this is the last of the updates to our parking standards. This is the technical mumbo jumbo that staff has kind of been working on in the background while we worked on the other stuff that people really care about. Broadly, not a lot of huge change here. What we have done is the big addition is actual standards for EV charging stations, which previous ordinance did not include. So this just puts some guardrails around what we would expect to see. It's also laying the groundwork for a future amendment at some point to further push green infrastructure. What we've done at this point is sort of lay out that it's permitted, and here's sort of what we'd see. And so certainly under like the MUPUD ordinance or the CPUD ordinance or something like that, we could then use that, obviously deferring entirely to the Drain Commissioner's office for matters related to drainage. But this sort of starts that groundwork to begin to incorporate that more into the ordinance. You know, we've had, we're very lucky in Meridian Township with the staff we have, and my team has begun to avail ourselves more to Ms. Campbell's expertise on native plantings and things of that nature with regard to projects, and trying to push more towards that in our landscaping ordinance as well. And so you will probably see another one of these types of updates in the near future as we begin to see where things are going and what's working and what doesn't. But by and large, this update is really just cleaning up how we do some things, you know, reorganizing. The residential standards were kind of all over the place, and so someone would call us and we'd have to direct them to one section for one thing and one for another. And so trying to make it work a little better. We did add, I will note, we added the barrier-free parking requirements. That's a federal standard, but it's funny because most planners have like a bookmark to where they find stuff like this. Mine was always Fenton, because Fenton had it in its zoning ordinance very early on in my career, and so that's the one I always search for when I'm looking for this. We're just adding those standards which are laid out by the federal government into our ordinance, and so If for some reason that changes in the future, we'll have to update this, but hasn't changed much in my time as a planner. And then there's a few other, technical changes, but by and large, this is the one that we needed to do to make things function a little better for us. I will say that the Planning Commission discussed at length a parking cap for certain standards, for certain uses, I'm sorry. Ultimately decided not to propose that. They also discussed at one point completely getting rid of parking standards, which, is something that's becoming more popular because, as I pointed out multiple times, very few people build more parking than they need. We've had essentially 2 uses in my 5 years here that have built more than we would expect them to, and that was Trader Joe's and tailgaters. Must be something starting with a T. But by and large, parking, does not pay bills. It does not bring in revenue. Ultimately, it sucks up land and space and requires additional drainage. And so, the maximum generally isn't something that comes into play in a community like ours. It's usually in a place where you have a lot less limited space where you need to do that. And the Planning Commission had a very robust discussion about it and ultimately decided not to include it at this time. So that's, I think, all I have to say at this point on the ordinance. Be happy to discuss any of the nuance if the board would like.
Thank you very much. Board members, Trustee Lenz.
First of all, Director, I appreciate the thorough walkthrough over the course of my time on this board related to these updates to our parking ordinance. I know you and I had a discussion over a year ago now about some of these long-term projects, and you definitely were not kidding about how long these seem to take. I am in favor of these updates. We have, according to some estimates, 1 billion parking spots in the United States, which is amazing, and not in the best way. I do have a question I am referencing the one with the new text highlighted in red, so that would be page 171, under parking reduction procedures. I believe that is F. There is a F subsection C, shared parking agreements, where a mix of land use creates staggering peak periods of parking demand. Shared parking agreements may reduce the total amount of required parking. My only question for you is procedurally, the use of that word may, does that mean that if someone came to the township with a parking related dispute, is that something where we would encourage the two parties to make some sort of shared parking agreement, or is there any teeth to what the township could do? I'm just curious, like, obviously if, your house, or that would be a bad example, but I'd be interested to hear more about what that means.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question because it's really geared more towards, the language is geared more towards if you have a mix of uses, you don't have to do it, right? You may reduce it, it's not a shall statement. But to your point, it's a tool that could be used in theory if we got into a situation, say with like Blondie's Barn and Shoptown where they disagreed over the amount of parking that each one had, then we could try and come to some agreement under a provision like this, doing it administratively and handling it internally. That section is actually sort of moving some stuff around in the ordinance and pulling it together to a spot that makes more sense. That in theory, we could do it right now. It's just a little more convoluted the way the ordinance is set up. But yeah, to your point, certainly it's a tool we could tool in the tool belt if we needed it.
Okay. In your experience, I know you've worked for Meridian for some time, and then I believe East Lansing and Brighton before. Is this something that you think would be worth implementing? Is there enough of is there enough interactions between two parties that share a parking lot where you would think this might come up again? I don't want to increase this long document just for the sake of giving you, Director Schmidt, another thing to do, but if it helps, I would be interested.
No, it's a provision that's not used a lot, but when you need it, right? Mm-hmm. I've used it in almost every community I've been in. Almost everybody has something along this line in their ordinance, because that one time where you really need it, instead of trying to go to get a variance which your standard for getting a variance on something like this, like you're essentially creating your own problem by putting in less parking than you need. So this just gives us in the situation where we need it, and it's not like, say, an MUPUD where it's, the assumption is you're gonna reduce your parking in a situation like that. This is like in a smaller scale type project where, say Trader Joe's and Starbucks weren't like offset by 5 feet vertically, like would have been a perfect opportunity to blend their parking lots together and share it amongst themselves, right? And so it is a good tool to have in the toolbox. I would absolutely not cut something like this just for time, basically.
So I guess maybe the part that I'm questioning is it worth adding more direct language, giving the township the ability to be involved in a shared parking agreement, or like?
I don't think we need it. I think in this case, like in a situation like that, we would not be a party to that agreement necessarily unless there was an approval that had to come to us. I think what this does is for a development or a redevelopment project, gives us the opportunity to push them towards, okay, once you reduce the amount of parking you have because X, Y, and Z, you meet this provision. Oh, that makes sense, and okay, here we go, kind of thing.
Okay, I feel satisfied with that. I'm thinking about various conversations I've had with plenty of people over the years about some parking lot being overfull, that with people that maybe they don't feel belong in that area of the parking lot, which we don't need to hear more of in Meridian, but I will take your counsel on that. And again, I am in general in favor of these notes here.
Thank you. Yeah. I had a question on page 165. In the residential parking regarding off-street parking spaces, item C, subsection C. Says, for one family and two family residential, no parking space or driveway shall be located, and we're moving from 3 to 2 feet from any interior lot line. My concern is around Lake Lansing. This has been an area that we had previously had a lot of ZBA cases when I served on the ZBA. Have we looked at the impact of making this change to that specific area?
We've not done a deep dive in any specific area. We've kind of looked at it as a whole of this is something that's starting to need a little more flexibility. I'm trying to remember though, just a second, I'm trying to flip to the right section here.
It gives an extra foot than it was before, so maybe it's a moot point, but I wanted to just talk about it because I know that they are packed in very tightly around the lake.
Yeah, and they have their own provision for driveway coverage too, so we can certainly take a look at it. I think it's going to be a challenging comparison, but let me have staff take a look at it and see if there's any concerns that are raised. But I don't believe that they have, other than the lot coverage provision, there's not a specific special requirement for them. Candidly, it probably loosens it up a little bit for them, but
okay.
It's also not that big of a deal. It's not like we've gotten a hue and cry for this. This was just one of those that it's come up a couple times. It's worth having the conversation over.
Okay. And then later we talk about the electrical vehicle stations. This is essentially just, from my understanding of what this is doing, it's just being permissive about electrical vehicle stations and setting some standards for what they will look like. It's not giving credit or anything like that for additional parking. Was that considered at all or discussed in the planning commission?
Yeah, we didn't talk about it with the planning commission. We talked about it internally, and I think our point at this point is we don't have very many of them at all. So
yeah.
Let's at least get the ball rolling before we start talking about waiving parking or requiring, because we had talked about internally of, okay, well, why don't we just require the conduit to be installed now, and talking that out, not knowing the end time frame for that, you're essentially just putting money into the ground with the potential for it to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So I think our approach is just a little slow right now, just let's get the standards out there, let's start getting them installed, right? As you begin to see these installed, then, okay, now do we need to start talking about, do we offset parking? Do we need to increase the number of spaces required? Because now you're taking up a couple of spaces here. Just taking a slow approach to it at this point, I guess, is the easiest way.
Yeah. And then, not particularly germane to these changes here before us, but in general, I had a conversation with Manager Dempsey offline about this. We've made some changes to the parking ordinance already, specifically reducing the amount of parking that's required for, well, basically across the board. And, I'd be curious, we had talked at the board meeting when we passed that ordinance about the likelihood that existing developments may wish to reduce their parking because there's higher upkeep costs for a paved impervious surface compared to green space and grass.
Sure.
My concern is communication. These changes happen, and it's a board meeting, and it's in public, but the owners of these properties may not necessarily be aware. Are we making any effort, or can we make any effort to reach out to them to proactively say, hey, there has been this change to an ordinance which may affect you, your new parking requirement based on your existing blah, blah, blah is Y, is X.
Yeah.
If you choose to, you're welcome to reduce the number of parking spots that you make available to that number, just so that they are aware that, the requirements have changed.
Yeah, we can certainly look into being a little more proactive on it. I can tell you, we've had conversations with a couple of property owners as they've come in and have conversations about other things, like, hey, you don't need all that parking now, right? Like, we could talk about doing other things, and I think, it's still relatively early, but I think that's gonna start to bloom eventually, right? You're planting the seeds for potential down the road, especially in places like the mall and Meyer, and to a lesser extent, places like Playmakers or, the bowling alley on the north side, things like that. A lot of those places tend to have sort of those couple times a year where they really need twice as much parking, whereas the mall and Meyer and places Target, never quite get to that back 40 parking lot, even at Christmas nowadays.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think anyone expects it to change overnight, certainly.
Yeah.
I think just a general awareness would be a good thing, and I agree. It probably will only affect a handful of parcels, and it may only affect them when it comes time for them to repair or replace their lots.
Sure.
I fully, because it's expensive to take up the asphalt, I would imagine. So it might just be something to put in the back of the noggin for the owners of the property.
Start putting some bugs in people's ears.
Exactly. Yeah. Trustee Wilson.
I would like to add to that because I had a conversation with a business owner this week and told him about the changes to the parking regulations. He got an enormous quote for asphalt paving and was very excited to hear there may be an option to have green space instead of parking. So I would echo that. This gentleman is very plugged in and had no idea that we had made any changes. So I think it'd be great to do an outreach on this as soon as we get this settled.
Absolutely.
Further discussion on the ordinance that's actually in front of us this evening. Okay. Sounds like we're generally supportive of the changes that you're making, that the Planning Commission has recommended. So I guess we'll see you back in a couple of weeks.
We will be back with an introduction.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is item 11B, a Tailgaters SDD Resort Liquor License Application. And we have Neighborhood and Economic Development Director Amber Clark here to talk to us about that. It's 176.
Good evening, members of the board. Tailgaters LLC, operating locally as Tailgaters Meridian LLC, has expressed interest in opening a convenience service station here in Meridian Township. The convenience service station does require an SUP, and that was approved by the Planning Commission April 27th. That is the end of the special use permit approval, and so it stays at the Planning Commission and has been approved. The Tailgaters operates similar establishments near Meridian Township, one at south of Jolly and Okemos. And those operations have received special awards, especially from the Greater Lansing region, as promising and wonderful locations, professional, clean, and adhering to public safety. Before you this evening is an application for a resort SDD liquor license. To be clear, SDD and SDMs typically come before this board on consent because they are not a legislative control. So you typically do not have the authority to say yes or no. Typically, we bring the application before you so that you know where the location is, that the applicant has gone through our process, that we have reviewed it by department in our ordinance. Today, the applicant is requesting your support for a resort SDD license. These are competitive licenses issued by MLCC, only 15 per year. And it is a requirement of that process that they receive local resolution support. In addition, they've requested a letter of support because typically that enhances an application to the MLCC and helps them advance through their investigation. The proposed development is at 1622 West Grand River, and so there is not a structure there. If approved, MLCC will give a conditional approval. Once C of O is issued, they will finish that process. Before you this evening, we actually have the development applicant here, Mr. Haddad, who will be able to briefly take you through the project because, again, the SUP has been approved by the Planning Commission. Mr. Haddad?
My name's Chris Haddad. I've been a resident of Meridian Township for about 45 years. Wonderful place to live, great community, and you know, everything I've heard at this meeting is kind of indicative of why it is such a great community. The resort licenses are different than all of the other licenses you currently have in the township. It's a very competitive landscape in order to get those. Amber's done a wonderful job of filling you in on that. There's only 15 approved each year, and sometimes they don't approve 15. Your approval is great. Your support is of what we're doing to be heard by MLCC is what is really important. Communities that ask for these stand a much greater chance of getting them. Meridian Township just lost the only resort license you had when Rite Aid closed. And I'd like to see the community get that resort license back in the township. And with your support, it stands a wonderful chance of getting the consideration from the MLCC. So thank you very much for your consideration. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Board members, any discussion? Treasurer Burkhardt.
Just curious, is there a cap on the number of resort licenses that can be issued?
There are only 15 issued across the state. I'm not going to speak for MLCC about whether they would issue more than one to a particular community. The resort licenses only come into play once you've eliminated your quota.
Right.
And we have eliminated our SDD quota. Well, essentially, they've issued the SDDs. Again, we don't get the choice, but they've issued all of our SDDs, and so we have no more to issue.
Right, but.
So it sounds like what you're saying is this would allow us to exceed our current cap, which we have met.
Correct.
Right, but it's a different kind of license, right? A resort license. So is there a cap on the resort license, just like there's a cap on the regular license?
It's not one that's going to be noted for communities. We have a limited quota of SDD, SDM, and Class C licenses. Those are the only three categories. Since a resort license is a special qualification from the MLCC, there are none that are quoted per community.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Can I speak to that? One question you asked if there was a cap and
Please.
The quota. Meridian Township is currently short of their quota. People have applied in Meridian Township, have gotten their SDDs, then they've transferred them out of Meridian Township. So I believe the township is one or two short, but I will find out exactly that. I don't believe there's a vote on this tonight, but I will have that exact information the next time we meet.
Thank you. Clerk Demas.
So it's to my understanding that Tailgaters is not currently operating in Meridian Township, but Aladen. Have you issued a similar request to Aladen Township?
No, we did not need to. We've never asked for a resort license. All of our other licenses were available at the township, or we purchased them from other parties. This is totally different, and it is because there are no available licenses in Meridian Township, and it is up to the board to say, hey, yes, we would like to support this development. We would like to support your efforts in gaining that resort license, because number one, we lost one that was located here, and because you are short of SDD licenses compared to the number that you can have per 3,000 in population.
Okay, thank you.
And so we're clear, the license that you're looking to pursue and looking for support for would allow you to operate in essentially a similar fashion to the Aladen location?
Exactly the same fashion, yes.
This is not an open container, this is a retail establishment essentially.
Correct. The only difference between a resort license and a traditional SDD is it is not transferable from that property. It has to be maintained at that property address, and if you were to move, the license does not. It stays right there.
Got it. Thank you. Trustee Lentz.
Thank you. You actually addressed one of the points I wanted to make, the transferability. Director Clark, I did look up the STD license on the state website, and it said must be located in a local government unit with a population of 50,000 or fewer. With Meridian close to that line, is that something where 10 years down the road, if we pass it, this goes away, or is that like once you have it and you stay in that location, it is there until the party decides to
Again,
sell?
the resort is specific to tailgaters and specific to that premise. If this were a traditional SDD license, this could be transferred in or out of Meridian Township as long as it stayed within the county. That is how the state sees licenses.
So what I'm saying is the resort STD license requirement, I have it right in front of me on michigan.gov, must be located in a local government unit with a population of 50,000 or fewer. So I'm saying if Meridian were to surpass 50,000, it doesn't go away, does it?
It doesn't go away. If we've surpassed 50,000, more than likely our license quotas would increase. Because the last time our population increased, our license quotas increased in each category. SDD, SDM, and Class C. Class C is the only license that you can drink, you could consume on premise. And it doesn't matter the type of spirit. SDD is liquor, SDM is canned beverages.
Okay. You kind of addressed the point I wanted to get to, which is I wouldn't want to see us acquire more more standard liquor licenses and then have to transfer what would be a resort SDD to a standard SDD and use up that like higher population acquired SDD. Does that make sense?
Yes,
it does not sound like that is.
It would not happen like that.
Okay.
Specific to just tailgaters, this application would be, so the state of Michigan would look and say, okay, I believe that this applicant is qualified for this. And seeing our letter of support and seeing that they've gone through our application process to issue.
It does not take one away from what you're allowed when you look at 1 per 3,000. It doesn't work with those numbers. It works by itself.
It's not quoted.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're asking for a special provision. Like we've run out of all of them that can be quoted. We're asking the state for more.
Okay, I'm satisfied with that.
Other questions? Mr. Headed, you're comfortable with the timeline that we're working on here, that this be passed at our next meeting?
Oh, yes, certainly.
Okay, very good. Well, Seeing no major objection, we will see you back in a couple of weeks.
Very good. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you both. Next up is item 11C, the backyard chicken and rabbit ordinance update. Mr. Schmidt is back with us one final time.
Thank you very much. So the request, the ordinance in front of you this evening was reviewed by the planning commission at the board's request. And they had a very good conversation about, what needs to be tackled here. And ultimately they ended on two relatively minor changes. One, expanding the areas where it's permitted to the RB and the RX districts, so essentially all of the districts that are predominantly single-family districts. And they did include an exception to the number for essentially if you end up with a new brood, suddenly you're not automatically out of compliance with the ordinance because you had babies. So, good exception to have as that question has actually previously come up. So they did include that as an exception in the code to allow for that temporary exceedance of the number of chickens or rabbits permitted. And so with that, this is back in front of the board for any discussion. And if the board is pleased with it, we can introduce it at the next meeting.
Yeah. Dr. Schmidt, can you show us on our zoning map where some of these districts lie, just so we have a sense of what we're talking about?
Yeah, certainly. Not that way, I can't.
While he's pulling it up, I will simply mention that this is one of the items that was brought to us at one of our listening sessions last year around this time. And so I will take a moment to add an additional plug to what Manager Dempsey said, which is that our next listening session is on Tuesday, May 12th at the 242 Community Center at 6 p.m. And if you'd like to come join us, this is one of the things that we took out from one of those conversations, and it's one of an opportunity for us to actually, be able to put those conversations into practice.
Yeah, so starting north end of town, the predominant RB district that gets added is the Tower Gardens area. That's almost entirely zoned RB. But as you head to the east, you'll note that the majority of the area around the lake is as well, and several of the neighborhoods coming back off of Marsh Road. This complex as well, which is where this actually partially originally started with a complaint that came in the neighborhood behind the watershed. And so then as you look around, so there's little pockets of it throughout Hazlet that are zoned RB up around the lake. There isn't as much as you head into the Okemos School District area in the south part of the township, because this is obviously newer, mostly subdivided areas that were under the single-family residential zoning districts. But you will find a couple of areas. I'll show you here. You will find a small pocket here along Hewlett Road, and then if you pop up right here, you'll find a small pocket in my neighborhood in Brookfield here that's zoned RC, a couple RB properties. So it's not a huge amount of space. I mean, again, predominantly we're talking about up around the lake and Tower Gardens area, but functionally it does take away sort of a small inequity in our zoning code that there's, essentially one single family district that is being treated differently than the rest.
Wonderful. Board members, any discussion? Trustee Watts.
One question. How many registered lots are there in the township that keep chickens or rabbits? Do you have that number?
The last list I saw, so there's a couple of, the last list I saw, I believe, was around 30. The problem is that is since inception, and so we don't require an annual renewal. It is, what you do is you register to get your contact information and everything in with us. Mm-hmm. So I suspect that's probably a fair number. It's somewhere around there. maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, but that's a fair estimate.
And the mechanism to remove that license if any of these ordinances are not followed is, general code enforcement.
Absolutely, standard code enforcement process. We've had to ping someone once, I believe.
Gotcha. I'm mostly just curious how many chickens are in our roost here. I see no issues with this. So.
Any other discussion? Clerk Demas?
So this is just an update to an existing ordinance, not a new ordinance, correct?
Correct.
Okay, well, I learned something new about rabbit age through this, so, all right.
As did I.
Thank you.
Others? Well, this also happens to include my neighborhood, though I don't expect I'll be getting chickens anytime soon, but you never know. My 8 and 5-year-olds surprise me every day with their requests, so it would be good to have as an option should that ever become relevant. Seeing no objections, we'll see this back at our next meeting. Is this for introduction and then at our next meeting?
Your next meeting will be for introduction, yes, sir.
Okay, very good. We move forward then.
Thank you.
Next up is item 12, comments from the public. Same rules apply as before. I know that several of our members who made comments have left. Mr. Nahum?
Josh Nahum, 1517 River Terrace Drive, East Lansing, Michigan. Just a quick comment as a planning commissioner. I just want to second some of the comments by Director Schmidt with regard to the very long discussions we had with regard to parking maximums, parking minimums, trying to make large-scale adjustments to those. I just strongly encourage if any members of the public have strong feelings about this, we're definitely open to continuing discussion along those lines, though we did find at our last meeting that we weren't quite comfortable with putting that in the language that we requested the board to consider. But I just want to iterate that if that is a topic that any members of the public would like us to continue to discuss, that is something we're very open to. That was all I wanted to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other members of the public?
If I may.
Please.
Just briefly, Chris Patterson, of course, with Fahey Schultz. Pleasure to see you all this evening. On behalf of my partner, Matt, Wayne's also here. Really appreciate the Township Board, obviously the staff and their support of our services. Very grateful that we sort of get to live and work in the community that we serve. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to learn that you approved the contract. So thank you. Really enjoy it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else at this time? Seeing none, public comment is closed at 7:54 p.m. Item 13 is other matters and board member comments. Any other matters this evening? Seeing none, we move to item 14, closed session. Do we have a motion for closed session? Trustee Trezaitis.
I move for the Township Board to enter into a closed session subject under Section 8, paren 1, closed paren E, closed paren of the Open Meetings Act to consult with the Township Attorney regarding trial or settlement strategy in connection with ordinance enforcement litigation involving 5837 Carlton Street, now pending in Hingham County District Court, namely case number 25M93588-0 or ON, because an open meeting would have detrimental financial effect on the litigation settlement position of the township.
Support. It's been moved by Trustee Trezaitis, supported by Trustee Wilson. Clerk Demas, will you please call the roll?
Clerk Demas, yes. Treasurer Burkhart.
Yes.
Trustee Lentz.
Yes.
Trustee Sunland.
Yes.
Trustee Trezaitis.
Yes.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Supervisor Hendrickson.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, folks, we are entering into closed session. If you'd please clear the room. Board members, I'm going to take a moment to refill my water before we get going, and then we'll get started, if that's all right. It's like when the Supreme Court issues a ruling and they have to like run down the thing.
Oh,
just
they're
to
running on the
as our-
interns.
All right.
Wave my arms again, Stephen.
Kidding me?
Well, now the monitor's just turned off and I don't know.
I see a thumbs up.
Okay. All right, we'll re-enter open session at 9:06 PM. We have a motion to be made. Trustee Trezise.
I move that the Township Board authorize council to discuss the discussion held on the May 7th meeting of the Township Board in executive closed session with the Parks Commission meeting scheduled next week pertaining to settlement negotiations involving litigation case number 25M93588-0
Closed session.
in their closed session.
And staff, right?
And council and staff and his staff or her staff to discuss.
You got it? Supported by Clerk Demas. Clerk Demas, will you please call the roll?
Treasurer Burkhart.
Yes.
Trustee Lentz.
Yes.
Trustee Sunland.
Yes.
Trustee Trezise.
Yes.
Trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Clerk Demas, yes. Supervisor Hendrickson.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is item 15, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Don't be too eager. It's been moved by Treasurer Burkhart, supported by Trustee Lentz. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned at 9:08 PM.